Three, two, one. Welcome back to Taco Court Fantasy Football League podcast. I'm your host, Nate. You can find me on Twitter at Nate530 on our show on all socials, YouTubes, and podcast platforms at Taco Court Pod. Thanks for listening wherever you're listening. Be sure to leave a review, maybe leave a comment. Let us know what you want to hear in the next ones. Today, I'm joined once again by the host of 58 West King podcast after his self-imposed suspension from last week. Tony, how's it going?
It's good. Incredibly grateful to be back. I wrote to the commissioner's office, got my self-imposed suspension lifted just in time for the holiday season. And if you're listening to this in podcast form, you can't see, but we're both wearing Christmas hats.
Yep.
My little puffy ball on the end of my Santa hat. It's a little bit bigger than yours. Size doesn't really matter here, Nate. It's just, it's the holiday season. That's
It's all
all that
relative.
counts.
It's all relative.
Yep.
So I'm in 4K and 1080p. You're in like 360 right now, so it obviously has a big difference on being able to articulate and display what is accurate to the visual eye. Anyways, it's Christmas week here at Talk Court Fantasy Football League, and it is Christmas week in the world. So we're going to talk about some Christmas stuff here this episode, but we'll also hit into what is on top of our mind coming into this next week. We'll hit each other with a question for manager on manager. We'll cover some NFL and sports news and notes, a league update here. We're in the playoffs of fantasy football season. We'll do a draft, and then we will leave you with a rave before banger of the week. I just noticed, Tony, I'm looking at the show notes. I have a top three as the draft because me and Terrence did top three. Do you have enough to do five?
I mean, as long as you don't steal them, I came prepared with 7 or 8, maybe. I don't know. Yeah,
Okay.
well, I'm good.
We should
though.
be good.
We can make it up.
Let's do top five. So I have like 11 of them, I think. So we'll be good there.
Oh.
So look, you're welcome, listeners. We got 5 things to draft this week, not just 3. So, anyways, top of mind out of last week into this week, Tony. What you got?
How much money $1 billion is? Looked it up. Average American makes about 1 million, maybe a little bit more throughout their life. If they make 40 to 50 grand a year, go ahead and do the math on your own. If that's through 40 years of employment, so $1 billion is 1,000 of those. What one person would make, throughout a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Someone recently spent $44 billion on a social media platform.
Ooh, we're gonna get here.
That
fun.
same person. It's Taco Corp. That's what we do. That same person also lost $100 billion across their net wealth, or 100,000 times what the average American makes throughout their lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So my Tesla stock is down over 55% since that someone went down this path. So if he could go back to not tweeting nonstop, that'd be fantastic. That would be fantastic. 55%. And just for context, in that same span, a little over a year, the S&P is only down 17%. So it's definitely this person. And I'm pissed. My portfolio's hurting. It's killing me.
Down 17%. How much of his net worth was that? You think that he lost right there?
I think it
is it
peaked
17%?
At
17? Or
his
no?
net worth peaked at like 340 billion.
Mm-hmm.
340 billion.
Yeah.
And it's estimated that he lost a little over 100 billion in the last year over
33%.
A litany of things, a lot of things.
Yeah. Interesting.
But mostly it's just my portfolio. That's
what we're caring about. Yeah. I'm getting poorer by the minute. They told me
I got kids. I got to put them through college.
They're not going to go to college.
Trade school, whatever. They're going to get some certifications. It's expensive. It's going to cost me money. All right, Nate.
Your kids are going to be internet famous one day. So you don't need college for like 99% of the jobs out there. What do you need college for? We need college to be what? Because they recommend or they prefer. No, they mandate that you are certified for teachers, right? Mm-hmm. You have to have degrees to do law, and then what? Medicine. What else?
I don't know. Off the top of my head, that sounds pretty good.
I think that's about it, right? So anything else you can learn on the internet, YouTube, this great platform. You want to change the headlight on your Honda? You can do that. You want to figure out where your water heater is in your house? You can do that, right? Mm-hmm. All kinds of stuff in there. Top of mind for me, Elon was a big topic at work today. It got kind of weird, right? I was just talking about the internet in
Yeah.
general, and it'll be part of my rave later on. But um, the internet's a fascinating place. Twitter's a fascinating place. Um, but I do find myself, and I've talked about this a little bit before, that I think I'm really an addictive person. When
Mhm.
I get into something, I get into it, and then at a spur of a moment, like I can squirrel into being addicted to something else. And the
Yep.
internet's been like that for me over the last few weeks or a month or so. Part of that is Twitter. I find, you know, Tony, episode, I believe it's 24 of your podcast from the minute number 40
Jesus.
40, I think it's 42:36 to 47 minute. I have it screenshot in my phone because I was going to post something today on the socials about it, about this is very relevant. 40 minutes, 26 seconds, all the way to 47 minutes. It was the first conspiracy corner that we did on your podcast where I talked about the term conspiracy theory, right? And that it's a conspiracy theory that on like the definition of the term conspiracy theory is its own conspiracy. So I kind of brought that up at work today or whatever a little bit, right? Because there's things about JFK coming out, or I think it was like Tucker Carlson. It's mentioned on the news, national news, like a few days ago that he talked to somebody who knows about this case because we're getting to that time frame where classified documentation expires being classified, right? Unless they determine they need to keep it classified, which they probably
Yeah.
will because this is a
You
pretty
can
big
classify
incident.
stuff forever. The 50 years isn't a set thing.
Yeah, yeah, right. But that time frame's coming up, so people are
Yep.
asking questions, and all these Freedom of Information Act stuff is going out and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Well, this guy who knows all these documents and stuff had said, "Hey, the CIA was involved in the assassination of JFK." Right. So the internet's blowing up, and then you got Twitter files going nuts, which I find pretty interesting, right? Just from my own, like, it's interesting to me. I find it fascinating or whatever like that. But then I found myself in these big holes, right? And I look at the comments of people on Twitter, and I understand that it is a very loud minority of the human beings in the world, but
Yep.
it does take over a lot of my life and my energy or my time, to where I can stay up till 3, 4 o'clock reading tweets that people
Jesus.
put out and then be like, shit, I need to get a couple hours rest or whatever. And then I just go sleep on my kid's floor because they'll wake up to my alarm and wake me up. Right. So
Mhm.
that's the shit that I end up doing. But um yeah, so internet, fascinating place. We talked a little bit about that stuff at work today. It was kind of awkward because one of the guys there, right, most of us can just have a conversation. There's one guy who's like really adamant on one side of the house, or whatever, and he just, when he talks, it's like demeaning, like, right, it's like you're not having a cock. And I'm like, this is weird. But in every other thing that you talk to him about is pretty, I mean, he's pretty fair, right, or
Mhm.
whatever, but he has beliefs and stuff like that. But he goes to like these super extremes, and I do it too in times. But that it's like, well, duh, duh, duh. And I'm like, God damn, like, it's not, I was just telling you how the internet makes me feel, right? And
Yeah.
the things I find fascinating. But that's that to get into also. Do you know who Graham Hancock is, Tony? Have you
No.
heard of Graham Hancock? So I saw a clip on, it was a short form video, and it was a clip from a Joe Rogan podcast. And it's great. This dude, Graham Hancock, since like the 90s, and even before that, he wrote his first book in the 90s called Fingerprints of the Gods. But his theory is that there was advanced civilization wiped out by the Ice Age, or a uh, cataclysmic event after the ice age, right? Big
Mhm.
melting. We had this big global warming, and water rose up 400 feet, and that there's this advanced civilization that taught hunter gatherers things. And he believes that based off of archaeological sites and stuff like that, right? And the things that we see. And there's stuff all across the globe that came up around the same time. They're dated around the same time of going back 13,600 years ago or something like that, right? Somewhere around 11,600 BC time frame, that all display kind of the same images, and then the intricate details of the sites face certain stars at certain moments and stuff, and they all do it right. And they're North America, South America, Egypt, when you're looking at Great Pyramids and things like that, sites in Turkey and sites in the U.S. Against, as you could say, right? Even one of them being in Ohio, which is actually pretty dope. Um, but I got into this, and like so top of mind, I guess you could say, going back to what the topic is like the start of man, or what we know as man, right? And I think it all ties into like what we're told to believe and what we're not, what like alternate thinking or criticism of what the facts presented are, not necessarily turning into cynicism of the facts, I guess you would say, right? Because he
Mhm.
gets a lot of cynicism for his way of thought and all this kind of stuff, and has for over 30 years, where science has basically been like, you're dumb. And they like corner him and like not allow him to sell books on Amazon US, and like the like how do you say that, the scholar aspect of science and stuff like that, right? Science, archaeology and all that kind of stuff
Mhm.
really pushed him off or whatever like that for a long time. And then over the last few years, more evidence has come out that he's talked about over and over and over, to where they're like, some of these guys who were critics or how do you say that word, cynicism, gave him
Cynical?
cynicism, cynical, that's a word, yeah,
Mhm.
cynical towards him, are like, yeah, we should probably look into this because it's starting to make sense, right? And then Netflix actually made a documentary with this dude. I forget what it's called, but if you look up type in Graham Hancock in Netflix, you'll end up seeing it. But it's an 8-part series, and it just released November 11th. Shout out Veterans Day. But it's actually pretty good, and you can see all these sites and kind of make up your own decisions or whatever like that. But it's
Mhm.
interesting and it's fascinating. And I'm getting ready to go to New York this weekend for Christmas Day to watch the Knicks, and it's got me. That's the first time I've ever taken a trip by myself,
Mhm.
to go anywhere like leisure wise. Like I've been places for work and stuff like that, but it's kind of not the same as taking a vacation, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
right? Like I've gone to places and got to see the parts of the world and stuff like that. Really grateful for that, but it got me thinking about other places that I want to go visit, right? And I'm thinking about those type of sites and stuff like that. But all in the thing of like alternate thought or critique into what's been told to us and stuff like that, and then people not believing it, but then maybe interesting facts that lead you to believe that stuff. um, it's just something that keeps me up at night, and it's top of mind. Also, it's Christmas and I don't have my kids here this year. It's the first time I haven't spent Christmas with my kids, so what else do I
Yeah.
got to do than go down conspiracy holes? But
Lots of time for rabbit holes.
yeah, but it's been fun. And then I was thinking back to like, when was the date that we did that podcast? So I spent last night like an hour going through and been like clicking conspiracy corner in there or whatever like that, and figured
Yep.
out where it was. It took me about an hour
I
to figure
I
out.
looked it up while you were going on. It's July 2020,
Yeah,
episode 28. Well
July
done.
2020, man. We're there. So anyways, conspiracies. That's top of mind. But yeah, that's that. Let's move on to manager on manager. I got a question for you, Tony. What was Christmas Day like for
Mm.
you as a child? Did you guys have any like traditions or do anything that was like too specific to your family or whatever?
Yeah, a couple um so we had like my mom's side, my dad's side. My mom's side, we'd go and open presents on Christmas Eve, like
Hmm.
before midnight. Then we go home. And then our own thing was like opening Christmas presents on the day of. Like we'd wake up at 5, 6, whatever, whenever the sun came up, open
Hmm.
presents, and then up until my great grandfather or step, I don't know how to say that, great grandfather. It was my great grandma's second husband. It's complicated. And once he passed away, like the family got complicated just because like they divorced. I don't know. Weird. I was young, didn't really understand at the time. But while they were still alive, we would go on Christmas Day to her house, my great grandma's house, and everyone would cook. The aunts, the uncles, the cousins, everyone would come out. We eat. We'd watch, whatever basketball, football, whatever was on.
Hmm.
Um, we'd play games, like we'd play poker with like change. We'd play outside, football in the streets. Obviously, it was fun, and that happened, every year, pretty much for every holiday up until, like I said, my great grandfather passed away. Definitely have a lot of good memories, a lot of good ingredients for like just making good memories as a kid.
Yeah,
Kind of sucks
we.
like being disconnected from all of that family back in
Mhm.
California. They don't do it anymore, but like my brother's on the East Coast. Much of my family is still on the West Coast. We're in Colorado, so like that's something my kids won't, have a chance to experience.
Yeah, yeah. We never really had that kind of growing up. Is weird. We were the ones who moved away.
Yeah.
So all of our family was in the Central Valley of California, and then we moved up to just north of Sacramento. And the only other people up there were my dad's mom and her husband. So I guess
Mm.
the same kind of thing, right? Step grandfather, I guess you could say. Um, but He was our grandpa. He was the only guy we knew. Learned about my real grandpa at like sixth grade or something like that, right? So,
Mhm.
um, but for us, Christmas Day, me and my sister would always wake up super, super early, right? Way too early, go through our stocking, try to put it back together and stuff like that. And then try to wake up our parents super early, right?
Yeah.
It'd be like no later than 5:30 a.m.
Jesus.
Right. And then so our dad would get up and all that kind of stuff. And then my mom would have to take a shower and all this kind of stuff, right? Get her chair
Mhm.
ready in front of the tree or whatever. It'd take like an hour and we'd always be banging on her bedroom door, like, hurry up. And she's like just trying to like
Yeah.
get an extra 30 minutes, take a dump, fucking shower and wake up a little bit, right? Because they were just up till like 3:30 getting stuff ready for Christmas. So um, but we would open up presents and then we would drive up to Reno. So by 8 o'clock, we already had breakfast. We drive up to Reno. And then I got the burps because I've been drinking Diet Coke again.
Mhm.
Um, we drive up to Reno and go to this casino called Boomtown. And this is like in the 90s. So they
Mhm.
had the greatest kid arcade of all time. Like, think Dave and Buster's inside of a casino.
Mhm.
And then they had a miniature golf course in there, 3D, um, like motion theater, I guess you would say, and a bunch of other things. And if you got a wristband, they give you like $20 worth of tokens, and you could do all the mini putt and 3D movie stuff. So my parents would leave me and my sister. Granted, I was born in '86, so this is like the early to mid '90s, right? So no more than 10 years old. Leave us
Mhm.
there in the game area or whatever like that. And this wasn't a time where there was like, how Chuck E. Cheese stamps your hand and you got to have the same stamp and all this other
Yeah.
shit, right? Nothing like that. It was just like go there. Like anybody could have taken us, whatever. But and there's no technology to track us or have a phone or anything like that. And our parents would just check on us like every hour and a half or whatever like that. Me and my sister would just play. They'd bring us some more cash to get tokens or whatever, and then we just hang out. And then after it was kind of cool because that was the only way we got to see snow too. Like we're at the bottom of the foothills, so you can see snow all over the mountains, kind of like here, right? Like 20
Mhm.
minutes and then you can get snow, 20-25
Yeah.
minutes. Um, but we drive up there, do that, and then we'd go back down and go do dinner with my grandma. And there'd be times I remember one time specifically, my grandma got pissed because she was like, "Why do you guys do that? It's Christmas. You don't need to be going to no casinos and all this kind of stuff. And it's about family and all this stuff." But then her and my dad got into it, and she's like, "What do you want for dinner?" And my dad's like, "I really don't care." She's like, "Well, what do you want?" He's like, I really don't care. Like, it's just food, right? Like, we're just gonna be together. That's fine." And then she's like, "Tell me what you want." He's like, "Well, fuck it, just make chili dogs." So my grandma, out of spite, and she's like from England, right? Came over on a boat in like the 20s, or yeah, the late 20s. So she made fucking chili dogs out of spite, and she was mad about it, and we were all geeked because we got chili dogs,
Oh,
whatever.
love chili
So it
dogs.
was like one of the best Christmases ever. We shoved it right in her face. It was awesome, but yeah, she's still living. So grandma, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry, but it was pretty funny. So that was us. You got a question for me?
There you go. Yep. I don't know if I should lead into this. I'll just ask it. Are you changing the Sacco rules for Taco Corp after the season?
Dude, um, I was so hoping that you would have lost the last week of the season, but Terrence's team stinks. So because you would have been the regular season Sacco, right? For that.
And a good chance of getting the Sacco, yeah, in
Yeah,
the playoffs,
chance
yeah.
getting the Sacco. Um
So I have a
I
recommendation before you answer.
okay.
Can I
Yeah,
spill it?
go ahead.
I should have just let in with it.
Yeah.
So, I think you said you like to keep people engaged, right? Because people just give
Yeah.
up if
Yep.
they're, gonna get the Sacco 4 weeks out. They'll just stop messing
Yeah.
with their team. Your league, it costs $100 to play. Like if someone gives up at week 9, like that's a problem. You should probably kick them out. $100 is a lot of money.
Hmm.
Um, Probably for everyone in the league. Um, but for your last 3 weeks, right? Week
Hmm.
15 or week what would it be? Week 16, 17, 18 for playoffs? Or no,
Yeah.
15, 16, 17. Sorry. I'm
56.
taking it back one. um have a cash prize for a consolation bracket winner, like half their dues back or something. And that
For
would like
finishing
create
sixth,
some incentive like to keep people going.
I'm not paying
And
anybody for finishing
and it's
sixth.
small
That's
and
fucking ridiculous.
it's twofold, right? You
Okay.
keep people going because they get a chance to win money. Anyone can win that
Yeah.
consolation bracket, right? Um, and it punishes, like you would still punish the actual Sacco, the team that sucked for 14 weeks.
Hmm.
So you have a real Sacco, the winner of the league, whoever won in the winners bracket gets to punish them.
Hmm.
And then you keep the engagement going because people are still playing for $50 or whatever, you could set the price to
Yeah.
$100, get all your money back. I don't know what you would do there, but I've heard that on a couple shows. That's what people do to keep their managers going.
Yeah. I think so. I was talking to Nick about this probably last week. I think we were talking about it because we were or no, it was the leading up to the last week of the regular season because we were like, "Yo, Tony could get the regular one and the other one," and then at that point, we're gonna like create a trophy. We're gonna get someone to
Oh my
3D
god.
print something off Fiverr of like a trophy of your head. So then that'll be like the trophy for like the worst manager of all time. It'll be called the Tony, and then you have to put it in like your main living room, right? And it'll have to be there all the time. So we're like, "Hey, can you imagine Tony having to tell his kids?" Like, because they're like, why is there a statue of your head here? Right. And then you have to explain why there's a statue of your head. It's not because you're like completely narcissistic. It's just because you suck that bad. Right. We might still do that. But um, what I thought about was like, okay, Sacco punishment being regular season, right? Or whatever like that. But then we were talking about it. So it came up when we were talking about Deion Sanders going to Colorado, right?
Yeah.
Because their first home game is like the first weekend, I think, in September or the second weekend in September. And it's against Nebraska and it's a home game. Uh,
Hmm.
Time to be determined, I guess you could say. So it might be like a prime nighttime game or whatever. And it's at Boulder. It's an hour and 35 hour, 40 minutes away or something like
Hmm.
that. So we had talked about, well, that'd be cool to do that as like our meetup, whatever this year, right? Like people can come to Colorado. We can probably, go up to Denver or outside of Denver, northeast of Denver, right? A little bit, northwest of Denver, just a little bit, and like get like an Airbnb, do some shit in Colorado, Denver, go see Coors Brewery, whatever it is, right? Go see stuff, maybe go catch
Hmm.
a baseball game or something like that, and then catch that game,
Yeah.
yearly annual meetup type of thing. First one, do that for that. Deion Sanders is going to be hype. There's going to be all these new players
Yeah.
there, whatever. The atmosphere would be cool. So we talked about that, but in that we talked about regular season Sacco being the punishment one, and then the losers of the loser bracket, like picking up a bar tab or whatever type of tab up to like whatever $150 or something, right? And it gets everybody a beer or two or something like that for whenever we do meetup season or something like that. So um, yeah, if you suck, the league might cost you 250 or something like
Hmm.
that every year. But the likelihood of somebody getting that, 3, 4 times, let alone two, in this league is very rare. There's only a select few people who have ever done it, and I mean one. So that was something I
Not
came up with.
once. Not once have I had the worst record and been the actual sack. That's the thing. Like I love the incentive to keep people
Yeah,
going because then people are
yeah,
fighting for players on the waiver wire, making it difficult, right, for the top six
yeah,
managers. But we've been letting them off the hook. What? How many years have you been going? 9, 10 years now,
yeah, something like that.
something like that. So 9 or 10 years, and the worst finishing team in the regular season has never been punished.
Yeah,
Sometimes you've had teams that have won 2 games. I
yeah,
think multiplied 2 times, and they haven't been the Sacco. Like that's
yeah,
I'm
yeah. I
taking this
think
to my local congressman, and this is
I
it's an
think we'll do that.
abomination.
I like that idea of like a punishment being one of them, right? And then like whatever, like two rounds for the crew, right? Whenever we do a meetup or something like that.
I
And
like
then
that.
there's two different things there, and then it's also a way to get everybody together and something to look forward to or whatever
Yeah,
like that. And we could do something like that every single year. So because that's something I really want to do, and I really want to do it with this Colorado Buffalo and Nebraska Cornhusker game. I think that would be pretty cool.
it's
Two
gonna be hype.
storied programs back in the '90s. They were the fucking dudes, right? Yeah. Uh, what is his name? Fucking Frost. You had Rashawn Salam. All these great athletes that played in these things in the triple option wishbone offenses and stuff like that of the
Mhm.
'90s, and they get to play Deion Sanders opening game in Boulder. So um, yeah, that was something we thought about, but um, that we're looking at doing.
Let's
So,
do it.
yep, yep. We might. What do you think? So, we were talking about that, like, as just the dudes only, or like families welcome as well. Kids, maybe.
It get pricey taking a family of 4
Yeah,
to a game. The tickets probably not so much. It's just Colorado, but you got a big
Hmm.
school coming to town, right? They got to pay
Yeah,
that bill.
and they don't
When you're
have the
talking about
money to pay
food,
Dion.
talking
They don't have
about
the
room
money
and
to pay
board.
Dion Sanders either. So
Yeah,
the athletic director said they asked him, how are you going to pay for the $5 million salary? He's like, we don't got it. They asked him where he got the money from. He's like, we don't got it, but we're going to get it, right?
they
So
had it. They just invested heavily in FTX, I think.
yeah, that's what it was. So bangbros.com arena, Miami. Did you see they tried to do that?
Are you
Bang Bros
serious?
put in like a $10 million offer to sponsor or something outrageously higher than everybody else once FTX like fell out.
I trust them more than I would any type
Yeah,
of crypto market for sure.
dude, they are Miami. That's where the Bang Bus is. So I googled like who is Bang Bros, but that's what I learned on the internet. So
Yeah, yeah.
more
I'll
stuff that keeps me up at night.
do some research later.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to NFL league news and notes. We'll cover our fantasy playoffs right now. This is a podcast, if you're a first time listener, around the personalities within our fantasy football league. That's how it started, us getting to know each other because we're all kind of scattered around the globe, but we all kind of know each other through
Mhm.
somebody, right? We're Eskimo fantasy managers, I guess you could say. I think that's the thing, right? Like we've all played fantasy football with each other, been in the same league. We fucked other people up in fantasy, and then we just all came together to be one. Is that a thing?
Yeah, sure. I
Ah,
think you just coined it.
I coined it, right? We're Eskimo managers. So um recapping last week in the championship bracket, speaking of Eskimo brothers, the Eskimo brothers beat me 138.88 to 97.58. My team did not do well. I lost Debo Samuel. I think it hurt the team's morale a little
Oh,
bit.
for sure.
My team is not mentally strong, right? I talk a lot about momentum is bullshit because if you look at teams like the Minnesota Vikings, Justin Jefferson was in the locker room this last weekend and said, "Hey, we only need 5 touchdowns." I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, Ryan? Well, yeah, we only need 5 touchdowns. You stop them, we'll score the touchdowns. Boom. What do they do? Score the touchdowns, win in overtime. Bang. Right? Like momentum. The mentally weak was on the Indianapolis Colts side. The mentally strong was on the Minnesota Vikings side. This is what happened to me and the Eskimo brothers right here. He moves on and faces the Pocket Dogs, the #1 overall seed this season in the second round. In the other matchup, we had Brandon and Too Hot to Handle with 153 points, beating Boner Jams 03, and that's Matt 143. And Brandon moves on to face Clint. So the two, technically, I guess they might be Eskimo brothers, right? The Pocket Dogs and Password is Taco. They've lived together for a
100%.
while. James has always wanted to be Clint, and Clint always, stands really tall. So, Clint top, James bottom, maybe. I
Mhm.
don't know. Maybe it's reversed a little bit, right? They give us one image, but it's really the other way.
Mhm.
Clint could be a bottom. He's very quiet. So James is a big stocky guy, even though he's
Yep.
like 5'3".
Deception.
Yeah, deception, right? They've bamboozled us all. But anyways, Brandon takes on Clint, and the winner of those two matchups will meet up next week in the final. And moving on to our Sacco bracket, this one's getting awkward and weird, right? So you had Nick and Three Penis Wine. He beats Trey, and I shave my balls for this, 153 to 105. So Trey is in the running for Sacco this year. That would be pretty interesting in itself. And then you had Tony Patriot. You got smoked by Milford Academy by 18 points, 123 to 105. Um, Not good. This is
Yeah. JT
two
went
weeks in a
down
row.
like JT went down like second carry of the game, and I knew from that point on it was not going to be good.
Yeah, 2 weeks in a row you got beat by this guy. He's the
I beat him.
one.
I beat
Oh
Terrence
no, you
in
beat
the
him
division.
last week. That's what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was
All
his
right.
payback. Yeah,
Revenge game. It's
yeah.
Milford Academy revenge game. So you're in the hunt for Sacco, and you and Trey kind of have the same amount of points. And then IR5 and Niner. It's hard to read his team name because it changes every single week. Lost to the Murder
Yeah.
Boners in his auto draft team, 165 to 136. So Chad is in the running as well. He is the regular season Sacco this year. He is in the running for Sacco, but he's 30 points ahead of both you and Trey. And then this week, you and him face off. So this is a critical matchup here, Tony, that you got. How do you feel about your chances to come away with a victory and potentially avoid Sacco punishment for the
You're,
third time?
I feel like you're glossing over something very important.
Third time. What's that?
You're glossing over something very important.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of bearing the lead here. So a big part of the Vikings' comeback against the Colts
Mm-hmm.
this past weekend Was I forget which defensive lineman was that defender getting that finger up Matt Ryan's butt? Is that kind of what Peterson did
Oh
to you
shit.
in your guys'
I,
matchup?
I just had a mouth for the listeners only. I just had a mouthful of Diet Coke and nearly spit it everywhere across this thing. Is
So
that the
so
punishment?
my question to you is, did Josh Peterson stick a finger up your butt to secure that win?
I wouldn't be able to feel it anyways. You should see the shits that I take. I mean, they're they're like full on Polish sausages that are. I mean, I'm just trying to compete with my youngest daughter. She
Okay.
takes logs that I just can't comprehend. But yeah,
Your
I'm.
kids take the largest shits known to
How did
man.
that
I've
come out of
never
you? I scrub you
Yeah,
every night. I know what it looks like.
yeah. Like, I don't think they sell, tools for the toilets to, like, break those things in half. It's just a plunger. Like, I gotta get the plunger dirty before I can actually start plunging.
You need the
It's
poop knife.
we need to put is that a thing?
It's a thing. Like yeah, it's a thing. We should have put that in our gag gifts or whatever, the poop knife. But yeah,
The
the
poop
poop knife
knife.
is a thing. Yeah.
Uh, Back to the Sacco thing, I'm scared. My team just lost Jonathan Taylor, my first round pick. I lost Rashad Bateman. Never really had him, but lost him halfway through the season. Colts offense stinks. So, like, I have Michael Pittman as my number one wide
hmm
receiver. Judy, dude, my team's trash. This is stupid.
hmm
It's a miracle that I wasn't the regular season Sacco. I don't know how I managed that, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not good. It's not looking good for Tony Patriot.
Yeah. I think it's going to be between you and Chad there. I think Trey's got a team that can put up a little bit more points than you
Yeah.
guys
I
can.
think he'll
So
he'll get a win, probably against me, but all these guys can get a win. Like, I don't even think I'm gonna win one.
yeah, yeah, it's going to be bad. It's going to be fun though. Who do you think wins it? Wins the whole league?
The whole thing?
Yeah.
I haven't looked at the teams, but I think Clint's team went off. I know he was on bye
Yeah.
last week, but Clint's got a good squad. James has a good squad. It's probably gonna be one of those two bastards.
hmm Yeah.
They're gonna keep it in the family
Yeah. Can you imagine living in that house, man? And there's just trophies everywhere.
everywhere. Clint's probably taking champions this year too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. So, hey, in your league, right? So, speaking of the Colts running back situation right now. So, I am in the
Mhm.
playoffs and I'm pretty sure I don't want to say it because I'm going to jinx myself. I have the best team in that league, bar none. It is ridiculous. I scored more points on bye last week than anybody else scored, right?
Mhm.
And I had bad performances up and down my roster. It's wild. But there's 4 teams left, right? And it's a
Mhm.
fab league as well. I have $51 worth of fab left. The next highest are two different players that have
Mhm.
40. And there is Zach Moss and Deion Jackson both on the waiver wire. My thoughts are I'm going to put $41 on Zach Moss. Do you
Yeah.
think that is the right move to do Zach Moss as opposed to the pass catching back?
It just depends on the person you're playing. Do they need a running back? Do they need a flex? If they
My
do, blocking him's probably the smart strategy, right? Even if you don't
my
play
whole
him, because
thing is
I
I'm
probably
never
wouldn't.
going to play him. I'm never going to play
Yeah,
the
I wouldn't.
guys, right? It's solely a block move or whatever like that.
Yep.
So I'm going to pick one of them up. Do you think Zach Moss is the guy that I should pick up? He's the one who got the between the tackle carries and stuff like
He
that. And
got a
then,
ton of carry. I think 24 or 23
yeah,
carries last
Deion
week.
Jackson just caught passes. So he scored more points last week, I believe.
Yeah. I guess the asterisk behind those 24 carries was that they were winning. They were up by, what was it, 33 nothing at one point, or 33
Yeah.
7?
Yeah.
That's not going to happen again, right? So they might be throwing to the running back, and that's going to be Deion Jackson. So maybe you just go with the cheaper option, save your fab for the next round.
I
But
think
I
I'm
don't know.
just gonna take Zach Moss to block somebody, and then
No,
I'm gonna put the other 10 or whatever I have left on Deion Jackson,
take them both.
and then take them both potentially. But I have to drop one player that I probably don't want to drop in that
Yeah.
league. But I think I'm primed to take a championship in that league. You know, your guys' buddy Josh Callis, right? You know why he lost this last week. I
Did
don't
you?
know if you
Oh, I
saw that.
know. He bought the narrative. The narrative was out there from like 9/10, like 90% of the podcast.
He's a
Like, play Jeff Driscoll. He has tight end designation. No,
complete
he's not Taysom Hill. Don't do
that.
that. It's Houston.
That's what you fucking get
Getting
when
cute.
you
You're getting cute in
when
the
you do
playoffs.
that dumb shit. The same people that housed Taysom Hill because he scored one week of like 30 something points, and people are like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you can get a quarterback in the tight end position."
Yeah.
This, right? Never happened again.
Yeah.
And you play that bullshit game in the playoffs. Like, this is why I believe there's a God. I don't know if it's the God that we're told and all the stories right. I think it's also part of this whole, like everybody has the same story of this mythological feature person with a big beard and
Mhm,
tall stature coming and teaching them these things and telling them these things about a great flood and all this stuff. Right? It's kind of the story of Moses, and everybody has it, but it dates back so much
mhm.
farther, different civilizations and stuff like that. This is why I believe it, because people like that do those things and they are reprimanded for it. And I'm glad because he wins by 10 points. He wins by 10
Can
points if he plays either one of his other two tight ends.
can I share something with the YouTube viewers? I think this is why he played Jeff Driscoll. I'm
Mhm.
going to share my screen here so people
Okay.
can see and kind of understand why I have this theory.
Yeah.
So it's a window. Let's see.
Yeah. So I looked at his thing or whatever like that, but oh my
I
God, the
think this
guy
is
has got
why
cakes.
I think this is why Josh played him.
Yeah. Baby's got back. Like that guy, look, it's a Christmas episode. That thing is two Christmas hams. It might be four Christmas hams loaded up in that thing. Holy cow.
I don't know how to zoom in on this, but we're
You don't
looking at a
even need to
picture
zoom
of.
in. It is taking up this whole picture is maybe taking up a tenth of the screen, and there's one part of it that takes up a fourth of the screen. That thing, like, I'm single. If Jeff Driscoll comes to me, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like,
I'm starting him in the playoffs. That's what's happening.
I'm eating that thing. Like, groceries are getting high, man. Like, you can eat a little bit of that, you'll be good to go. Just,
Oh my
I mean,
god,
it's like a spiral too. It's like perfectly round shaped or whatever. So you just take a little a slab off of it. It's like getting prime rib at a casino
it's
buffet.
it's
Holy
good.
smokes! Woo!
Yeah. If you saw that picture, you'll understand why Josh
Yeah,
Callis did it.
nice and medium rare, so it's got some push into it. Right? It's not all hard. Holy cow! Woo!
They
Yeah,
gave him like the transparent pants in that picture too, like
yeah, yeah,
Dunbar. I forget the dude's first name. He was running back for the Cowboys, standing right next to him.
yeah,
He has darker pigment skin. You can't see through his pants the way you can see
yeah.
through Driscoll's. What's
Yeah, and
that's
if you're on
intentional.
the audio, just look up Jeff Driscoll booty, and then if you want, you
Yeah.
can just type in Jeff Driscoll Florida, and you'll see this picture. It's phenomenal. You'll know it should be the
Or Nate and
number
I will
one.
send it to you. We all have it in our phones. Just ask
Yeah,
us.
it might be in my lock screen. Uh, that's good. I think I'm primed to make a run in that league. It'll be interesting to win. I have some graphics that I've
Oh
thought
my
of that
god.
I'm going to make that are going to solely trash on your guys' buddy. I'm gonna put like his body bent over with Jeff Driscoll's face on it, and then me standing behind it like that big Persian guy from 300. Like that's what
Mhm.
I'm gonna do. Yeah, it's gonna be great. It's just gonna be a bunch of me pictures mounting Josh Callis. I looked in your Yahoo Fantasy app, right? There's messages that you can send to individual managers.
Mhm.
I think is last year or 2 years ago. He sent it was last year after he beat me. He swept me last year, two
Mhm.
games to none, and he sent me the word sweep with a bunch of brooms. So yeah, I have not forgot. I have all the receipts. I don't turn in any. I got three
Yeah.
phones sitting over here next to me that I have not ever traded in because I keep everything that's on them so I can go back and look at it. So
It's
hashtag
good.
fantasy receipts. I'm saying fantasy receipts because a lot of people reference fantasy receipts on Twitter and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And hopefully that when we get really good voice AI
Yeah.
algorithms stuff, it'll pop up when someone searches fantasy receipts in podcast or YouTube or something like that. They're going to see this episode of fantasy receipts. So
Yeah.
that's I think I said it 5 6 times. So drink. Um, Anyways, let's move on to news and notes. So, with the college football regular season behind us, Tony, the NFL is now gone to games on Thursdays, Saturdays, Sundays, and Mondays. Do you like this format of NFL football 4 out of the 7 days of the week?
Heavens, yes. I'll tell you who doesn't like it. Charlotte. She hates it. Football on all we're missing are the COVID games. It's like,
Yeah.
I know, I'm pretty sure COVID's running around. I don't know if you've seen like the medicine shelves at every store.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's get some COVID games back on like Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I'm
Did,
down.
did you get the flu shot?
I did.
You got
Yeah.
sick.
My house has been sick for like the last 2 months.
Everybody got the flu shot?
I had the cold. I had some cold or something for like maybe I was down for like 2 days, and then
Mhm.
I've been good. I'm still a little like congested, but like both kids, the wife have been like in and out of like just whatever the cold is, like heavy, not the flu, but they've had something multiple times.
And all you guys got the flu shot?
They did not. They did
Oh,
not get it.
there you
So
go.
I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm armed with like some extra antibodies or what. But
I didn't get my house didn't get the flu shot. We haven't been sick yet, so
yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
I
Everybody I
think it
know that got it.
helps.
Yeah,
So I think it
you
helps
probably
that
go ahead.
like your girls like they go to the East Coast and like they get a little dose of like whatever the viruses are
Yeah,
evolved to like on that coast, and then
there's a lot
they
of people
come back
from
here. So
like
like their
Zimbabwe
immune
there.
systems are probably pretty solid, right?
Yeah,
Because of that.
yeah, yeah. Their mom's Filipino, so they get all kinds of
Oh yeah,
diseases.
yeah.
I'm gonna get canceled. Not a
Yeah.
racist. Yeah, only against white people. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I don't. It's just too much. I
A
just want to
lot.
do other stuff, right? And then they're so spaced out. Like there's a morning, uh,
Yeah.
eve, afternoon, and the evening game on Saturday too, right? And then it's like then you
Mhm.
got morning, afternoon, evening games there, and it's like
Mhm.
fuck, man. Like I don't want to spend my whole day worrying up setting alarm reminders when I'm trying to go do Christmas shit with my kids,
Mhm.
or I'm flying on an airplane and I got lineup decisions to make and stuff like that. And I'm sitting here focused on watching direct TV on front of me because
Yeah.
United has like the TVs on those flights, but they didn't have them on the way back. That was what was bullshit. So I didn't have it on Sunday when I came back from DC this last weekend, but
That's a
I'm
problem.
not
Does
a fan.
airlines are so inconsistent with like in-flight Wi-Fi, whatever
Hmm.
they offer, like the TV services, like it'll be the same airline. They'll have it, like you said, one way, and then they don't
Yeah.
have it the other way.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, we got lineup decisions, we got games, we got bets we got to
Yeah.
watch play out. Come on,
This is America.
that's right.
Elon Musk needs to make an airline. All right. So ESPN today came out with their, we're recording on Tuesday. I think it is the 20th of December.
Yep.
ESPN every Tuesday drops their power rankings for after the week of NFL games has passed. It is the end of week 15 going into 16. They released their top 10 out there. Do you agree with them? Let me read them
Yeah,
off
read them
for
off for the
what
people.
they are. You got number one, the Philadelphia Eagles, two, Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs, Cincinnati Bengals, Niners at five, Cowboys at six, Vikings at seven, Dolphins at eight, Chargers nine, and the Baltimore Ravens rounding it off 10. Where do you agree, disagree? What would you change?
So I think Cincinnati and San Francisco are too low. Those
Hmm.
guys need to be towards the top, maybe one and two. Um, for the sake of my Cincinnati Super Bowl bet, they definitely need to be higher. That cash out option just keeps growing every week.
Yeah,
Didn't
I got
exist until like
Buffalo.
3 weeks ago.
I got
Buffalo.
Buffalo on that one that's like $50, and then you got $5 back every week up to 10, right? So it's like
That's all.
basically a free bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I took mine right after the Rams beat them. I was like, oh, they're plus 2,200. Like
Yeah.
no one's going anywhere. They're gonna be energized.
Yeah.
JB just wins games. But
Yeah.
I would take Minnesota out of the top 10, and I'd probably insert
Woo!
Detroit. I don't think Minnesota beats any of those teams you just listed off.
Yeah.
Not one
Yeah.
of them.
I
Look what
would
Dallas did to them, and Dallas is not. They're not that good.
yeah, I think that Minnesota has one of those like it things, right? This is kind of like I feel like they have this thing like the Cincinnati Bengals have, but they don't have it with a bunch of style because their quarterback doesn't wear fucking Gucci fur, right? He just wears dope chains. And then did you see his kid at the game this last weekend?
No
Um,
chains. You have chains on.
Yeah, they called him Kidco Chains. I think I tweeted
Oh
it
my
out
god.
on I think I might have just put the words on Twitter, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's like images of him walking around the stands and he's just got a shirt off with chains around his neck, right? And it's like Kidco Chain. It's his son or
Yeah.
something like that. So it was pretty funny. I'd probably leave Philly one just because they've dominated everybody they played. Granted, they haven't played like the toughest of toughest competition or whatever, but they are the only team in the NFL who makes offense look effortless. Like their offensive line is so good. Their wide
Yeah.
receivers are 5 yards away from anybody. Like
Oh,
the
they're
way they
good.
scheme it. Jalen Hurts looks so damn calm. And I like the way that he doesn't end up celebrating, right? Like he ends up throwing a touchdown pass. He doesn't run down and jump or whatever. He
No.
just kind of turns his head, runs to the sideline or whatever
Yeah.
like that.
He's got a
Pretty
really good
mellow.
attitude.
I
He
think his
wor that
head's a lot straighter than a lot of other quarterbacks.
he worries me though. He's missing this week.
Yeah,
I don't
he's
know if
got
you
a shoulder
saw
injury
the
now.
game.
I would still
Yeah.
sit there and have them at one, just their body of work. I think they deserve
Mhm.
be power ranked number one. Um, and until somebody really beats them, right? They lost a game or whatever, but
Mhm.
until somebody really beats them, I think that you got to keep them up there. It's kind of like the Alabama theory, right? Or now it's the Georgia theory, right? They're going to be
Yeah.
number one until somebody takes them down. So I would move Buffalo and Kansas City down. I'd put the Niners number two and then Bengals number three. Um, Nick had the same sentiment as you. He was like Philly's trash. I put the Niners. He put the Niners one Cincy two.
Mhm.
But The Bengals just win games and figure out ways. I think Minnesota's that way too. They just win games, right? They win all these close games. Last year they lost all these ones, and we talked about it about like, yo, one score changes their entire record, right?
Yeah,
And it's crazy. It's
eight
basically
one
like
score games or something.
how the Denver Broncos are this year too, right? If they could just score 18 points, they'd be
18 points. Yeah.
leading their fucking division pretty much, right? So, it's
Yeah.
something to look at for next year. And I want to do an episode on something like that, like things that people are going to be down on that will be up on, and maybe
Hmm.
do it in January, right? Super, super early. So, um, but there's that. I would probably move the Dolphins out of it.
Hmm.
Um, I'd move the
Okay.
Dolphins out of it. I'd move Baltimore out of it. And teams that I would look at replacing them with would be like the Lions,
Definitely
um,
Detroit.
Detroit. It seems like they got it. They finally got it rolling a little bit. Maybe it's a letdown week for them this week or whatever like that. But I would at the tail end, right? And it's hard because one of the teams just struggles at quarterback, but I would go between the Jets and Jacksonville. The Jets have an outstanding defense that is going to keep them in games, right? They need to score, 20 points or something like that, and they're more than
Hmm.
likely going to win games, right? So they can get to that point, then I think they bump up in the charts because they have the defense there. And Jacksonville just seems to is starting to get it rolling. You see Trevor Lawrence starting to get a lot more comfortable, right? He's super confident. They came back from a big lead. We'll talk about that earlier or later on.
Yeah.
But they have the quarterback who's supposed to be the quarterback, and they got the coach now, right? And the team is starting to get used to everything that's going on. I think they're getting into rhythm. I would
They
put
have
them,
a coach. Urban Meyer was trash.
yeah, they're better than the Baltimore Ravens. I think they're better than the Chargers. I think they're better than the Dolphins. Um, Arguably better than the Vikings as well, too. Right? They got smoked by the Lions 2 weeks ago, but that was a
Oh
blip.
yes.
Um, I think that's more of a blip than what they really are, or whatever like that. But I think they could beat a lot of those teams up there. But I don't see any of those teams in that top 10 right now, minus Philly, really competing with the 49ers. So um, that's that for me. Moving on, the Detroit Lions started the season 1-6 this year, Tony, before going on a 6-1 run, and they now
Yep.
sit at 7-7 on the season, 2 spots from being a playoff team, and they are 3-1 in the NFC North. Are the Lions making the playoffs this year with 3 games left?
I forgot to mention.
Teams above them, New York Giants, Washington Commanders.
Yeah, I forgot to mention. I'm going to go back a second, take a step back before I take 2 steps forward here.
There
I'm
you
going to
go.
pat myself on the back. You mentioned the
Jesus,
Jets
again?
not making the playoffs. What were they? This is like 4 or 5 episodes ago, so four or
Yeah,
5 weeks ago.
yeah,
They were sitting at what 6-2, six and
yeah.
three, something like that. And you,
Beep!
I told you,
Yeah.
I don't think they're finishing over 500.
Mhm.
You know what their record is now? Here in week 15, 16 now, I guess.
Why
They're
don't you tell
seven and
us?
seven. They're
Yeah.
7-7, Nate.
You gotta go 2-1. Finish up the
Yeah.
season.
Zach Wilson fucking sucks.
Yeah.
God, he's bad. I
He's
saw
not playing that
something.
well. Do you
I
see
saw
Robert Sala's
something.
comments?
Yeah. I saw a stat on I don't have all of like his season long stats, but I heard something yesterday on short passes. He was like so inaccurate. He ranked out of like 450 performances on the year. Um, how they grade this metric on these short passes. He was so inaccurate. He was like the 440th out of like 450 graded performances so far on the season
Yeah.
on short passes.
Yeah.
Like this is we're talking dump offs or quick slants. Like you really
Mhm.
can't hit that as an NFL quarterback. What are you even doing? What are you
Yeah.
doing in the
I
NFL?
don't
Like I don't
know.
think he'll be in the NFL a couple years from now. He's trash.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be harder for him to get a second contract unless he like drastically improves
Yeah.
next year, right? And make some big strides. Um, it's weird because the expectation now is like you build a team and then you put a quarterback in it and then you win. But it's
Yeah.
like for the almost the eternity of the NFL, it's never really been like that, right?
Hmm.
These Joe Burrow making it in his first like real full season is like an anomaly, right? But that's now the standard, and
You
that's
got
what
to do it on the
everybody's
rookie deal. You have to.
that's that's what it's graded on, right?
Yeah.
But then you look at the quarterbacks. Granted, there are different names there, right? But like, oh, I think it was over like a 15-year span. Like it was Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Peyton Manning, and
Yeah.
then 1 year of Joe Flacco, right?
Yep.
And then the other side of the house was whatever it was. But
Yeah.
they're all guys who've been in the league a long time and stuff like that, right? And they didn't perform drastically well of what the expectation is. coming
Mhm.
out of college and stuff like that. But there was somebody on one of these podcasts. It might have been on one of those Champions Leagues when we were doing those podcasts,
Yeah.
right? We're talking Ricky Draft, and it was when everybody hyped up Zach Wilson because he rolled out left in a
Just
um
one throw. He had one
yeah,
good throw.
he rolled out left in a rookie premiere or whatever like that, and they I forget what they call it, right? But team workout or whatever, rolled out left and he threw it across his body to the right side, rolling left, and it was like a 60-yard bomb, right? With
Yeah.
nobody on this dude and dropped it in the pocket. And that's when there was, oh, Zach Wilson, Zach Wilson. There might have been one person who sat there and
Yeah.
said, you can't make those throws in the NFL. That is an interception that goes to the house.
Yep.
I don't know who that person is. It probably rings with Haterade 530, but it might be me. So,
Nice.
but do you think the Lions make the playoffs?
All right, now that we're done patting ourselves on the back, we'll move on.
You can't come in here and just make the whole damn show about you and then be like, my goddamn portfolio, I'm not as rich as I was. And then
Yeah.
sit there and say, and blame it on kids' college when you know they're not going to go to college because they'll find something else that they want to do that doesn't need college. But, and then come up and talk about how great you are about some take you had 6 weeks ago. We're going to go over our hot takes later on in the season or after the
Good.
NFL season.
Good. Got some real bad ones. Can't wait to bring those up.
Oh,
So
man.
Detroit from week 12 on, this is a little after they kind of caught fire. They've had the number 3 ranked offense in terms
Mhm.
of like efficiency, number 13 ranked defense, and they're third against the run. So they've been shutting teams down.
Yeah.
So the question is, does Detroit make the playoffs? There's 2 teams ahead of them currently for the last playoff seed. So not counting the Giants, that's Washington and Seattle.
Mhm.
Those guys are in the, I guess that'd be what, the 7th spot. So one of the playoff
Yeah.
spots, and then the 8th spot. So right there on the bubble. I was looking at the schedule because I do think Detroit makes it, but just to add some like context why Detroit's scheduled to end the season, they got Carolina coming up this week, winnable. Chicago 2 weeks from now, winnable, and then Green Bay definitely winnable if they're playing, in week 18 the way they're playing now, and they have to win that game. I think they
Yeah.
can win all 3. Washington, they get San Fran this week. San Fran's still playing, so no thank you. Cleveland, Deshaun's still not playing great, but it seems like they're figuring it out. Definitely on defense. Defense is kind
Mhm.
of carrying them. And then Dallas. And Dallas might be playing for something, especially if they beat Philly this week, which I think
Yeah.
they will. That line's
Ooh.
kind of swung drastically with Jalen Hurts out.
Ooh.
It's
Yeah.
not. I don't think that's that
It's
spicy.
it's come back
A
the
little
other
spicy.
way.
A little spicy.
It
Is it?
got up I
It.
think it I don't know the last time you saw it. I saw it this morning at 6, and
I
then
saw it at 5.5.
when I checked just a little bit ago, it was like 4.5 Philly,
Interesting.
or four and a
Interesting.
half to Dallas.
Okay. But
Yeah.
I do think Dallas wins the game. But back to the Seahawks now. Their schedule: Kansas City. They're going to lose that game. They got the Jets. They'll be playing good defense. Mike White might be back. This is 2 weeks from now. And then the Rams to end it. Whatever. They win that game. But looking at those teams' schedules, like Detroit has the most favorable matchups down the
Yeah.
stretch. So I think they make it. And I hope they do. Like they're fun. They're a fun team to watch. Love
Yeah.
Dan Campbell. I like Jared Goff.
Put
We
some
talk a lot of
fucking
shit about him.
respect on my boy.
he
Woo!
took him and Sean McVay like took the Rams to the Super Bowl with no Cooper Cup and then Todd Gurley on one leg. Like he did some good
Oh
stuff
my
that season.
god. I gotta go like next day order a Jared Goff jersey and send to your house for Christmas. Hell yeah.
I regret it because you're gonna sound clip the shit out of that. Ugh.
That was so good.
But yeah, they're going to the playoffs. Let's go.
Yeah, I think they can go 2-1 in that time frame. They do have to compete with Green Bay a little bit. I think that's the one thing that if Green Bay can, string along 3 straight wins, then there's a potential for Green Bay to slide in there
Yep.
as well. But I would like to see Detroit get there. I ragged on Dan Campbell and his coaching record and stuff like that, but it's kind of nice to see it turn around, right?
Yeah.
Talked about him compared to the last guy who might have had a lot of pigment in his skin. But his record is drastically worse than that dude's or whatever. But it's nice to see it kind of come along, right? It's really fun to see, and I'm happy for Jared Goff in that sense too. So good to see him play pretty decently in an outdoor game against a really good defense last week too. So
Yeah. He made a
yeah,
big throw. I
yeah,
forget the tight end, Brock Wright or something like that. That was
yep,
huge.
yep. Have you seen that call from the Lions announcer or whatever like that? I'll,
No, I think I
I
saw a
have to
highlight on
send you.
like Red Zone or something.
I have to send you a clip. There's one of the Detroit Lions posted on their TikTok or all their social feeds in short form.
Yep.
That's like the announcer basically doing it right, and like I has to like hold up like what the how many yards it was and all this stuff. You
Yeah.
get to see it from the booth. Him getting pumped up for it. That was pretty
It's
cool.
awesome.
All right, down 21-7 at the half against the self-proclaimed America's team. Trevor Lawrence ends the game 27-42, 318 and 4 touchdowns, leading the Jacksonville Jaguars to a 40-34 overtime win over your former team, outscoring the Dallas Cowboys 33-13 in the final two and some change quarters. Is Trevor Lawrence the next coming of great quarterbacks everyone claimed he would be since his childhood, or is this just a single game and epic collapse by the Cowboys?
It's like every time you have me on here, we talk about people overreacting or underreacting to like a
Yeah,
single thing.
we're
Like I
here
think that
fair. Look, fair and balanced. Okay, we're. I mean, we might put a Fox News logo up on this damn thing. That's what they claim, right? That's I'm not saying they
it's
are, but that
entertainment.
that's what
Yeah.
they put on there, right? Fair and
It's
balanced
just like Taco
entertainment.
Corp's entertainment. You just got to throw that in there. I wouldn't overreact to it. The Cowboys lost Anthony Brown. It's their second best, maybe their best corner about 3 weeks ago. Torn Achilles, he's done for the year. Since week 13, Dallas on defense ranks 21st overall. And that is completely flipped from what they were doing the first 2/3 of the season.
You know what
But
happened is Michael Parsons started talking about how he's better than Nick Bosa, and they tanked.
they lost a very integral piece to that defense. But since week 13, they're 21st overall on defense, 26th against the pass, and then 20th against the run. So Anthony Brown meant a lot to that team. But I do think Trevor Lawrence is playing well. He's a QB6 on the year and seventh in points per game. He's just under 20, 19.3. And then, so maybe I'm overreacting to what he's doing this year. They get to add Calvin Ridley to that offense next year. That's going to be nasty.
Yep, it was nice. It's what's really nice is like when you're in on a guy, right? I don't know if you remember this when we were talking before the season started, and you were like, we're talking about how they paid so much money for Christian Kirk and everybody's on this, right? And I was like, yo, I like this team. One, they got Evan Ingram, right? That's always been my dude.
That
So
is
it's
your
glad
guy.
to, yo, I am so good. Like, just listen to me if you want to win fantasy leagues, folks. This is not analysis, but just listen to me. But you asked me, like, who's the guy, right? Do you remember who I said? Who's the guy I would want? I didn't
You
draft him
said
anywhere.
so. You said you didn't want this one player because he has shoulder injuries throughout his career,
We're not
and he's
talking about
currently like the RB3 on the year. Dalvin Cook. I don't know.
him by himself, and I was like, they're not going to be a number one combined.
You were high on Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, Josh Jacobs. Yeah.
Zay Jones.
Oh, Zay Jones. Yeah.
Zay Jones, right? So it's kind of nice to see that dude. I've always liked that dude since he came in the league.
Yeah.
Liked him with the Raiders last year. I think I had him in Dynasty or something like that. So you can just check my Dynasty rosters, know who I'm in on, and then they eventually pop. So if you're looking at redraft stuff, I got a couple guys for you. Just
He's a
DM
stud.
me,
He's turned into a stud.
tweet at Taco Court Pod, and I'll share with you my Dynasty rosters if you want to dominate. Even though I just lost to Matt Graham on Monday Night Football
In
because
the
Taylor
IDP
Rapp,
one, right?
yeah, in the IDP one,
Yep.
he ended up sitting Thibodeau from the
Thibodeau.
Giants,
You
right?
told
And
me.
then last night he had Taylor Rapp down like 11 points. The guy scored like 13. He beats me by a couple points because Alan Lazard, another one of my guys, turns the wrong way. Him and Aaron Rodgers not on the same page, and Aaron Rodgers throws it straight to Taylor Rapp. Interception, 4 points. He beats me. So kind of stunk, but
That hurts.
I only have your league that I'm in the playoffs still. I think I got eliminated from Champions League as well. So, but 4 for 4 on the playoffs. So
That's not bad.
nice. Not bad. All right. I think that another stat, right? I think I saw this on Colin Cowherd. I like his show. I think he makes a lot of really good points. Very logical. Does not a big overreaction guy or something like that, right? Just
Not a
really
Skip
fact
Bayless.
based. Yeah, not crazy, right? So it's kind of nice just to hear normal people talk. It feels like, right?
Yeah.
So he does say another Colin Cowherd fact, but just as random facts of, how do you say that, enlightenment, what do you call the tips, I guess you would say, right? You want to be prosperous in life. Colin Cowherd has a TikTok. It's one of his best ones. He's like, in order to be a man, right, in America, you don't need to go hunt and do all these other things that manly people think. In order for you to become a real man, there's 3 things you need to do. You need to be on an NFL Sunday. You need to go light up a cigar, make yourself a cocktail, and place a bet, and then you'll know what it's like to be a man. So I like that saying by him. But he was talking about how Trevor Lawrence over the last 3 weeks, number 1 in all statistical quarterback categories that kind of like matter for efficiency and stuff like that. Things like pass completion, passer rating, QBR, It might be touchdowns as well, I think. But he's number one over the last 3 weeks in the NFL, performing as quarterback. So
Hmm.
number one overrated quarterback over the last 3 weeks, six overall on this season. That's going to be a fun one for next year when people
Oh
are
yeah.
drafting, right? What are they going to
I,
do with the Jags?
I haven't seen the update since, I don't know, week 13 or 14, but I think it's in every metric that they use to measure quarterbacks' efficiency and performances. Like, he has improved year two over year one, whereas
Hmm.
Mac Jones is like the complete opposite. Like, he's gone
Hmm.
the wrong way. And it's like, look at the coaching or who's
Yeah.
calling plays for those. Like, that
Yeah.
piece definitely matters. And I think that's a huge part of it for those
Yeah.
guys.
Yep. 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 All right, let's move on. Overrated, underrated. I forgot, Tony, that we do bets when you and
Yeah.
me are on, whatever like that. But so I didn't put it down. But
Good.
let's
Cause I
just
didn't look
do.
at him.
I got three bets. Niners -7.5 at home against Washington. Philly 4.5 at Dallas. I think that Gardner Minshew is better than what people think. I mean, last year Gardner Minshew's getting, he tore it up when he came in, right? Everybody was hyping him up. There's this good video of him hugging his dad after and all this kind
Mhm.
of stuff, right? Super hype. So I think Gardner Minshew is better than what people think. And I don't think he's like a drastic 7, 8 point difference from
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts, right? He doesn't do the stuff on the legs, but he can sling the hell out of the ball. So, and they might get Dallas Goddard back this week. So, and then I have Cincy -3.5 at New England. So,
Okay, I have
um,
three. I'll give them to you right now. I
yeah,
just glanced
go,
over. I got
go.
my notes for our show. I'll take the Cincy as well. They got
Hmm.
-3 on the road. I'll take Detroit. They got 2.5 on the road against
Yep.
Carolina, easy. And then Baltimore at home against fucking Desmond Ritter led Falcons. They got 6.5 at home.
Tyler Algier got 22 carries this last week, one for over 100. That's good to
And
see going forward.
Caleb Huntley's injured. He's done for the year.
Yeah.
So it's the Tyler Algier show for sure because they don't use
Yep.
Cordarrelle all that much on the ground.
Yeah. Because they're going to get rid of that guy. So, because you can't have a wide receiver be a running
30,
back.
a wide receiver, and he's like 30, 31.
Yeah.
He's up there.
Yeah. 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 He's going to get hurt. So, anyways, overrated, underrated, the teams we've talked about, Tony, the Lions,
Underrated.
overrated, underrated, the Minnesota Vikings,
Overrated.
overrated, underrated, Jacksonville Jaguars.
You'll agree with me here. Underrated.
There
They're
we
winning
go.
that division.
There we go. I'm on all those. You got any
Yeah.
context that we haven't covered yet? Nope.
I think we got it all.
Cool. I think the Vikings just being able to squeak out wins says a lot about their team. So I think that they are, I guess you say properly. I'd say they're underrated because everybody has them as overrated. So
That's fair.
it,
They're losing in
it's
the first round of the playoffs.
it's hard to win in the NFL. So there's that. Let's move on to a draft. So with Christmas around the corner, as in a couple days, um, you're likely wrapping up Christmas time, right? Me and Terrence talked last week about things. One thing that we needed to do that we haven't done, and I did watch the Christmas movie with the kids, so that was pretty cool. And I don't know if he's went and done all of his stuff, so but we will hear from him hopefully in the comments should he be listening. So you may be on crunch time, right? This releases a Wednesday. Christmas is on a Sunday. You got 3, 4 days left. Christmas is about doing stuff with friends, family, and things like that, right? You talked to Heavily about what you guys did for Christmas as a tradition thing, right? And a lot of things with family. So we are going to draft our top 5 Christmas activities for 2022. Tony, I assume that you want the turn.
You assume
And
correct?
that is correct. So I will go first. And I am pulling up my little list here. And I will say that my number one I have some things that people, my number one, honestly, being a dad now and a parent is watching my kids light up opening gifts on Christmas morning, seeing them all excited. Yeah, I was up super late, getting it all ready and done because the way we do things and stuff
Mhm.
like that. In case my kids are listening. And I think Layla actually subscribes to the podcast on her iPad. So
Oh, damn.
because she was on it one time, so she knows that she's like episode 6 or 7 or something like that.
Shit. I got to
Yeah.
remove one of my options here for this draft.
It's good. I don't think she'll. Yeah, don't. Yeah. Um, but yeah, watching my kids open up gifts, I think that's a fun one, right? You kind of relive your own childhood of what that's like and get the sense of it from your parents.
Mhm.
And whatever your situation may be, with you're struggling or you're worried or you're concerned, it really just all goes away that morning because and then you realize none of it really mattered, right? All the stress and all the anxiety, all the concern on whether or not you're doing well or you did right or you did good this year, none of it really matters because it's just
Yeah.
about the, being able to provide them some joy. So that's my number one.
All right, scratch that off my list. Stole that from me.
Okay.
Going for the hearts. I like it. I edited that one choice because
Thank you.
our kids go to school together, and this was definitely gonna
Yeah.
bring up some revelations. But I'll say you put kids opening gifts. I'll put giving gifts.
Yeah.
Definitely enjoy spending money and like buying things that I think people really want or our kids really want. Family, friends, sending stuff to family on either coast. I really enjoy doing that way more than opening stuff of
Mhm.
my own. So
Yeah.
definitely spreading that part of
Yeah.
Christmas joy.
That's good. I like that one too.
And
So
then,
you got another one?
yeah, and then damn it, second one. This is the one I had to edit. I will say creating the magic
Hmm.
during the holidays for the
Yeah.
kids. Creating the magic. I'll just leave it
Creating the
at that.
magic. Yep.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yep. Having sex. Oh, damn it. Don't repeat that, kids, if you're listening. So that's that. I think Nick listens to this with his kid in the car too. So,
Jeez.
he
Well, that's
likes,
good. Maybe lead them down one path, and that's not the
yeah,
path at all. I like it.
yeah, yeah. Hey, you're gonna have sex when you're older, kid. Create the Christmas magic. You know, if a kid's listening to this, they're gonna remember that for the rest of their life, right? And then like they're gonna
Yep.
have like be all pumped Christmas Eve, and it's like 3 in the morning. They're with their old lady, and they're like, you know what? It's stressful. Let's just get one in for the old time's sake, right?
Yep.
Celebrate Jesus' birth by acting how he was not conceived. So there's that.
We're we're going to be responsible for dozens of children that were not planned.
All right. I'll go. My number two is putting up the Christmas tree. Um,
Oh.
that's a good one for me. I just always enjoy it. We always had like I guess a tradition thing. So my grandma made like a little mini stocking for me when I was born, and she did it for my kids too.
Mhm.
And that's our tree topper. So
Yeah.
we never had a star or anything like that. So it's like we go out, we'd buy a tree, right? You put it on top of the van or whatever, you drive it home, and it's way too big, doesn't fit. But your dad's gonna figure out how to saw the bottom off enough or whatever to make
Yeah.
it fit. And then we wouldn't be allowed to put on lights or anything else or do anything else until that one little stocking was up. So putting up the tree is always like a monumental thing in the
Yeah.
house. It kind of signifies the Christmas season's coming. So um my number three, I think I'm gonna go. I don't think you're gonna have this, right? But
Okay.
you know those tins of butter Danish cookies,
Oh, heavens,
right?
yes.
Just smashing an entire tin of those things. I
Jesus,
bought
man.
one. I bought one from, I forget where it was. It was Walmart or Target, but it is like 9 layers deep. It's like, and it's super big, right? It's like,
Mhm.
I mean, you can't fit it. A basketball probably fits in it if you sit it in. That's how wide it is too, right? It's like 12 inches wide or whatever like
Mhm.
that.
It's like 12
And
inches. It's about there.
yeah, and about 6 inches high. You gotta watch on YouTube, man. If you're listening to this on the audio. Um, but yeah, just smashing an entire Danish butter Danish cookie tin. Like you
Oh,
sit
so
down,
good.
you watch a Christmas movie, and then you and your kids or whatever, you got those out. You just sit there and go through them. They got all those little cup things and little paper
Mhm.
things you got to move because they got another layer and another layer. This one,
Mhm.
the guy's like, it's got like 6 or 8 layers of cookies in there or
Yeah.
whatever. So
I don't even know
it's
if they're different flavors. Like, maybe they're seasoned different, but it's just the way they're, like, printed, some of them, right?
yeah,
Like, they all taste
yeah,
very
yeah.
similar.
Yeah, they're so good, man. Like, I don't know, that's like a Christmas thing. And then, if you're brown or something like that, then your auntie or your grandma can take it and make it a sewing kit or something like that.
Oh,
So later
100%.
on, you'll think it's cookies and it's just a sewing kit. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's my thing. Smashing butter Danish cookies.
Oh, so good. They're so
Yeah,
good. That's a good one.
you got
All
to.
right. Picks here. Uh, so Charlotte loves this movie. She'll watch it, like, we start decorating right after Halloween. So we'll watch it. She'll watch it like November, December, maybe a few times. But like, I like watching this movie on the day of because that's when it's on TNT or TBS. I forget what channel. A Christmas Story. That's the
Yep.
only time I really enjoy watching it. Charlotte
Do
might have it
you?
on, but I'll leave the room. I won't really be engaged. But when it's on Christmas Day and everyone else is watching, even with all the commercials, the Ovaltine commercial,
Hmm.
whatever, like I'll sit there and watch the whole damn thing. I love it.
Yeah.
It's just like a tradition that I guess I kind of have, but I always look forward to that.
I always like that movie because every time I see Ovaltine in a store, I'm just like, drink more Ovaltine, right? And
Yeah,
you remember those commercials that are like, more Ovaltine,
yeah,
please, right? And then now I see them and I'm like, that was a freaking rip. He's
Yeah.
so excited to go figure out that puzzle.
And then, second choice here, putting together the toys or the gifts that like my kids got that we bought them or like the family spoiled them with. Like I love doing that and just kind of watching them play with whatever the new toy is like throughout the
Mhm.
day because that's all we do. Like we got the TV on, we're watching Christmas movies, we got a dinner in there, and then the kids are just playing with toys all
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
But
that's pretty cool. I got
I've
2
never had to put
left.
together a dollhouse or anything like that, like some people.
Those things are so damn big.
Yeah, that was a big
Freaking
one.
dude, that thing, my daughter's had that for a year. She's 5 and a half ish or whatever like that, and my other
Yeah,
daughter's 9. It is as tall as my 9-year-old who comes up to like my
yeah.
the top of my chest, bottom of my shoulders.
Your
It's
sister or something bought that, right? It was sent to my house. Like that thing's massive. It was like a 5 foot box by like
yeah,
2 foot by 2 foot. It was massive.
yeah, yeah, it was crazy. And then yeah, that was something else. So fuck that. That thing took me like 8 hours to put together. It was crazy. So
You borrowed
um
all kinds of power tools from me too. I don't know what the saw was for, but
it's funny because Layla hates it because it takes up so much space in their toy room. So
yeah.
she's like, Dad, we can just get her the smaller Barbie dream house and then we could sell this thing and get it out of here so we have more room. Because she likes these big Hot Wheel tracks,
Mhm.
and these tower
Or take up
tracks, whatever.
space. Yeah.
And she can't fit them in there because that damn dollhouse. She's like, I need
Yeah.
a wall for my tracks. And I'm like, yeah. Um, I got a lot here that I really like, but um, one thing I've always kind of liked, and I haven't done it in a while, and I haven't done it. I didn't do it this year either, but is putting up the Christmas lights on the house. So I actually enjoy putting up the Christmas lights on the house, and I think it's just a sense of like completion or achieving something, right? And like trying to
Yeah.
come up with a vision of what the house is going to look like, right? I'm like
Yeah.
I like the white little circle bulbs or whatever, and I got to make sure they stick out perfectly so they look like
Yeah.
you're watching like Fred Claus when he goes to the North Pole, hits every little side thing. I did it in Virginia, climbed all the way to the second story of the house, and it's like kind of like 2.5 stories, and I was all up there and all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
I'm afraid of like falling off the roof and stuff like that.
Oh,
So
it's terrifying.
yeah, especially from a 2-story house. I think if I buy a house, it'd be 1 story, maybe with a basement or something
Yeah.
like that. But putting up the Christmas lights, I actually enjoy, and then getting your Clark Griswold moment. Hey, come outside or whatever, and you plug it in, and it lights up,
Yeah.
and everybody's happy. And then there's like, all right, going inside. It's cold, right? Something like that. So and it's like, oh, I just spent a day.
Luckily for us, you've seen our lights. Like Charlotte likes the old school, like the
Yeah,
just the colored ones look like they're from
those
like
ones
the
are
80s.
cool.
So
The
they go up
C9
super
bulb,
quick.
the
Yeah.
C9 bulb. Yeah, those
There you
ones,
go.
awesome.
Like
Yeah,
I can put those things up in like 30 minutes. It's
yeah,
awesome. Super
yeah,
easy. Don't have to climb up. Because to get like on the very top of ours, you have to put a ladder on the roof.
yeah.
That's terrifying. I'm not doing that ever.
It's scary, scary. So
So
yeah. And then my last one, I actually like doing this, and I did it Monday. What's today? Tuesday? Yeah. So yesterday,
yep.
right?
Yep.
Um, Colorado Springs has a bunch of little like soup kitchens and stuff like that, right? So
Mhm.
one thing I really like doing during the holiday season, I'm looking forward to doing it with my kids. I'm waiting for my youngest one just to get a little bit older, so she's not like, "What are we doing?" and bored or whatever, right? And she can
Yeah.
grasp the concept a little bit better. But is volunteering. So
Mhm.
I don't know what it is about the holidays time. It's just like I feel like I need to give back to whatever, or help out with
Mhm.
something. And I remember the first time I really did something during the holiday season. We were down in New Mexico, and they do a big Toys for Tots thing, and the community center is massive. It's like the size of like a gym and a half,
Yeah.
and it's just like the whole community. And it's a small town, like a 3-4 mile town, right? And it's just covered in toys or whatever like that. And you get to see all these like kids who their parents aren't in a position to give them what they believe they need to have or anything like that. So it's a chance for them to go
Mhm.
get something and pick out stuff, and they leave with a big old thing of toys, and they're all so happy and stuff like that, right? And just be able to help out other people when you're in a position to do so, right? So being able to get out in the community, stuff like that. I think, if YouTube or this thing blows up, or I think that's something I want to work on in 2023, is like getting more traction on the show and stuff like that, right? But
Mhm.
to try to do something to help out, like at least our local community here or something like that, right? From a
Yeah.
whether that's sports teams in the area, you know, particularly football teams, being able to like help buy equipment or whatever like that, use some of the revenue that streams off of this thing to be able to do that, give back, maybe do a toy drive or whatever like that. I've seen some
Mhm.
other creators that have grown like a little bit of a platform, not even huge or whatever, just be like, hey, we're doing a toy drive thing for kids.
Mhm.
Here's an Amazon, thing or whatever like that with a bunch of stuff that we're collecting because the sheriff's department does a lot of stuff or whatever it is. And then people just are sending boxes and boxes and boxes, right? And it makes you
Mhm.
feel good about the human race. So that's my last one.
That's pretty cool. That's how I know you're tracking what the Scott Fishbowl is,
Yeah,
but he does the Toys for Tots thing, right? He just takes donations, but it's like tens of thousands of people now. And then within the donations he gets from all those people, like people do live drafts now in all the
yeah,
different cities. So like he's bringing a ton of people together in all because of just that really, really good cause and doing
yeah,
the Toys for Tots every year. Pretty cool.
yep, yep, yep,
Definitely a good cause I'd get behind. I'd donate some money.
yeah.
Last one here for me. I've talked about at the beginning a little bit about what we used to do for Christmas. When I was a kid, family get-togethers, just like getting the family together, maybe some friends, and just kind of making a tradition out of it. Haven't done it really as we've been kind of separated with the military life, but
Yeah.
definitely a huge part of what I remember as a kid during the holidays. So
Yeah.
I'll do family get-togethers for my final one here.
That's cool. All right, so let's wrap it up. Or before we, yeah, let's wrap it up real quick. So you, Tony, you have giving gifts, creating the magic, watching a Christmas story on Christmas Day, putting together the toys for the kids, post Christmas unwrapping, and Charlotte cleaning up all the wrapping paper and boxes and stuff like that. And then family get-togethers. I have watching your kids open up gifts or any kids open up gifts for that matter of fact, putting up the Christmas tree, smashing a tin of buttered Danish cookies, and putting up the lights on the house and volunteering. So, do you have any honorable mentions?
No, well, hold on. I think I did have one more. So we do just like Thanksgiving, you do turkey with all the sides and fixins, right?
Mhm.
We do steak for Christmas.
Nice.
So that's kind of our thing that we do every year now. We'll go out and
You
buy
guys,
some nice steaks from like an actual butcher, and then we'll grill them up and then do all the sides and stuff
that's cool.
every year. So
I never had like a Christmas Day dinner thing. It was just always what my grandma had,
yeah,
right? So like it was awkward when I became an adult and I was living on my own. It's like I
yeah,
think one year we had like my family over when I was in California because it was like a 6 hour drive from where I was at. So they came to our house at on the beach basically
yeah.
for Christmas. And I think that time I did some fucking, I don't know, some roast thing,
Hmm.
tenderloin, I don't know, or beef lamb shank thingy, whatever. It had all these fucking bones hanging out of it. I forget what it's called, whatever, but like a prime rib roast, I think is what it was,
Yeah.
right? And it's the first time I ever did something like drastic like that. Tried to put together like this Pinterest looking Christmas dinner and stuff like that. And then you realize everybody's really good if we just went and grabbed a bunch of Big Macs. But I don't have like a Christmas eating tradition thing. I think I kind of want to do that, but
The steak is so good and like it's not difficult, right? You just marinate it the
mhm,
night before, you grill it, which is what, 20, 30 minutes. And then while
yeah,
I'm doing that, Charlotte's got the baked potatoes, the mac and cheese, the asparagus, all that stuff.
that's cool.
Super simple. And like once you're done eating that meal, you pass the F out.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. All right, so I have as honorable mentions. I have one is like playing in the snow,
Mm,
driving around looking at Christmas lights, ice skating.
that's a
I
good one.
like doing that. I put baking on there, and then Team No Sleep Christmas Eve. So I guess
Ooh,
that kind of falls into your creating the magic piece or whatever like that. So
yeah.
um, kind of falls into that. So, all right, let us know. Leave a comment below. Leave a review on if you're listening on Spotify, or you can leave it in the Q&A section or something like that. And let us know what your favorite Christmas activities are, and
Tell us
we'll
how
shout
wildly inappropriate Nate's mention of having sex on Christmas was.
you. Oh, Dennis, we're just celebrating baby Jesus. Um, Anyways, we used to do a segment called Rants and Raves. I changed it. We're only doing raves now. So you got to figure a way to make it positive, right? We talked about this before and we're doing it. So you got a rave for us this week, Tony.
Yeah, Nate made the mistake of giving me the choice, and I'll rant every single time. Damn it. uh, so talked about like a Christmas story, right? Like one of my favorite Christmas movies. It's old. It's an old movie. So I'm gonna rave about some of the new Christmas movies we have this year.
Mhm.
So we went to the theaters and we saw Spirited. Have you seen that movie or
I haven't.
saw a trailer for it? So it's
No.
Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell, a couple other comedians. They kind of do kind of like the Scrooge thing, where the ghosts of Christmas past or whatever come, but it's like
Mhm.
a whole production. Like Will Ferrell is like he works and like they kind of show like behind the scenes, right? It's a different
Oh,
spin
that's
on
cool.
it, but it's the same story. But it's a musical, but it's like really funny. It's like 90% comedy, 10% musical. Not a fan of comedies, but like I really enjoyed it. It's really funny. It's I mean, it's Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell. They give you exactly what you expect them to give you.
Yeah.
That one was good. Um, Another one was A Christmas Story Christmas. So I think it's
Hmm.
the kid from the first one. It looks just like him. I don't know if it is,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
It's supposed to be him as like the dad or something like
yeah,
that
he's
now,
a
right?
dad, and his old man passes away. Like, it's really good. I think they brought back a lot of the old actors too. They looked like they were the actors from the original. The age lines up, but that was really good. Definitely adding that to the rotation. And then the third one, this is a Marvel one. Maybe it's just because I'm a fanboy, but the Guardians of the Galaxy. They did like a 40-minute Christmas special. We just
Nice.
watched it before we hit the record button, but it's really good. It's short. It's funny. They kidnap Kevin Bacon. Spoiler: that if you watch a trailer, that's what they do. But it's just the Guardians. It's James Gunn doing what he does best. It's good. All three of those though, definitely gonna watch those like for years to come.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. I watched a movie on a plane the other day. A guy at work told me to watch it, and it's called Stutz. Have you seen this? It's on
I have not.
Netflix.
No.
So it's Jonah Hill made a film about his therapist, and it's them sitting down and talking essentially for like an hour and a half or whatever like that. But it's actually really good, and it takes turns that you don't think it's going to take. It's supposed to be a story about his therapist, and it turns
Mhm.
into like some other things, and then you hear about the behind the scenes stuff and all this kind of stuff. It's really
Yeah.
good, really well put together. It's super dope. Jonah Hill's mom's in it as well. She comes and
Mm.
sits and talks and stuff like that. So I watched that, but my rave, I almost said
You
rant.
wanted to rant too. I could see it in your eye, Nate.
I tried to so I spoke a little bit about it, right? Like I get into these holes and especially with the internet and stuff like
Yeah.
that, right? And I don't get out a lot. Um I stay at home a lot. I think just kind of it's just comforting to me to be
Mhm.
home even though I get really wrapped in my own brain at home, right? Like, oh, I should be doing something else or this is this or I want to go do these things that I don't end up
Mhm.
doing them. I just stay home. Um I also value like being around my kids a lot and stuff like that and being able to do things just like laying around, talking to each other, having conversations, coloring in books, right? Just interacting and stuff like that. So that's a big part of my days and stuff. But um, this weekend on Saturday, I flew to DC to drop the kids off with their mom for Christmas. And on Sunday, I flew back. And Sunday was a World Cup final. I landed in Chicago O'Hare. I had a 2 hour layover. I landed in Chicago O'Hare during the World Cup final at minute 78.
Ooh, that's when it got
Chicago,
good.
Chicago O'Hare has very large walkways. There's two on each side of basically the aisle. And then the middle has like seats for you to sit or whatever like that. The entire terminal that I was in is like United Terminal, I don't C terminal. The entire left side of it is like where all the restaurants and stuff like that are packed.
Yeah.
Like every bar, every sports bar, restaurant in there was packed. Every one of them has TVs, and it was like 10 people wide, taking up that entire. You couldn't walk on the left side of
Yeah.
Chicago O'Hare the entire way because everybody's standing outside watching this game, right? So I get to see the two Mbappe goals at minute 80, 81. I get to see
Nuts.
Argentina go up, and then I see Mbappe tie it up with a hat trick. I get to see it go to PKs. Right, I had this all this time basically to watch it, and I just standing room only. I'm probably like I don't know 40 feet away from a television, but I could see what's happening, and
Yeah.
you're just around all these people, right? And it was just people from all over the world around each other, and blocking an entire walkway of one of the biggest airports in the world and the busiest airports in the world during a holiday season. And even after that, like half of the other side was taken up with just people standing too. So you could only
Mhm.
walk like two people wide, maybe three if you're small shouldered, you know. Not a person complained about I can't get through or excuse me or it's just a game.
Yeah.
Not a single complaint. The entire airport all on the same wavelength, like just happy to be around each other. People cheering when Mbappe scores. Every shot that Messi takes after, oh right, and everybody's just having a good time around each
Yeah.
other. And it gave me a different perspective on like humans and humanity, right? Because I think when you get stuck in like internet world, especially Twitter now, right? And I find stuff on Twitter fascinating.
Mhm.
It's like our only real true discourse like platform that people actually type, you know, and it's not just memes and other people's stuff on Facebook. It's not just pictures of bullshit on Instagram trying to show how great your life is when it's not,
Yeah.
and looking for validation. It's where people talk, but it's always like hot take central. And that's what it really turned into. So much that like on my podcast account, you'll see I unfollowed like over half the people I was following.
Oh
I
shit.
got rid of like every fantasy analyst on
Smart.
it because I was like just getting triggered by it. I was like, why are you posting stuff like this? Like this makes no sense. You can't
Yeah.
believe this. doing it just to get an engagement, and that seems weird to me, and it bugs me because I felt like I did that slash we did that as a podcast, right, or a show for like a month straight or whatever, right? Once we started doing YouTube and stuff, so I was like,
Mhm.
I got one of my best performing YouTubes is Nick Sirianni, is a fake tough guy,
Yeah.
right? And just trashing him, and it's like the guy's a good football coach, but it just gave me a different perspective, and it made it was really fun to be around. Just people that are happy, enjoying the
Mhm.
moment, I guess you would say. And I was talking to a guy at work today. His name's also Nate, but he went skiing or snowboarding up in the mountains this last weekend. And he said the same thing. He was like, it was awkward. He's like, everybody was happy. Everybody's willing to help you. You're struggling to get down a
Mhm.
mountain. Someone stops and it's like, hey, focus on this a little bit more or whatever, like that. And it was just like not a single gripe, not a bitch moan, not somebody stressed out.
Mhm.
There's snowboards just hanging out outside of a ski lodge while people are eating or, warming up a little bit or something like that.
Yeah.
Not a single snowboard stolen, right? And you get the sense of what the world's like by watching the news or Twitter or all this bad shit and all this negativity. But when you get out around real people, it's not like that most of the time. So shout out to humans on earth
Yeah.
for not being what we see on the socials or
You
in just in general in media,
you,
right?
you got to be careful with social media. Do you know what Chat GPT is? Have you heard of this?
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy. A couple
Hmm.
dozen lines of Python coding to make a bot to go
Hmm.
online. Like, would you can go to Chat GPT, make an account, and you could tell it, write me a fantasy football article, and it
Yeah,
will sit there and write it for you. I might
yeah.
start doing that to save myself some time. But you
No,
can
don't
make,
do that.
dude, you can make a bot. Like, there's so many data points that these things are fed. Like, you could be
Hmm.
on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, in the comment section arguing with these things.
Yeah,
And how much of that are people using to like inflate their numbers, right? Like how
yeah,
many Twitter accounts do I have for
yeah,
these
yeah, yeah,
exact same purposes, right? Just to
yeah,
create stir the pot a little bit, right? Like imagine if I was like Derricott and I could code some stuff and just have these bots do it for me, right? I
yeah,
just point them to the right link, right? I just paste
yeah,
in whatever the tweet or the Facebook post is. So like you got to be careful with like how much of this stuff is actual authentic organic people like creating content and arguing, right? Like there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of made up, a
yeah,
lot of fake controversy. So I don't know. I would kind of steer clear of that or just keep that in mind when you're looking in the comment sections on
yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah, but I don't know. All that kind of just to say like all that other stuff, right? And all the cynicism and stuff like that. And I've really been trying to focus on this because what Trey talked about, right? About being positive and hate and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff has really been with me for like since we talked about it and we did that podcast episode 3 weeks ago. Um
Can we double
and
down?
yeah, we doubled down. But even just after it, like after I posted that episode, it just didn't feel good or whatever like that. And I was
Yeah.
just like, I inherently look at everything negative, right? And then just being in the airport made me think about it like, yo, it's actually pretty good out here, right?
Yeah.
Or just how I view humans and all that kind of stuff because not everybody's really like that. So the
No, not
majority
at
of the
all.
world doesn't do that shit. So
Yep.
most of us just read. So shout out to humans. That's my rave. We got to get out more this coming up year. But let's pay some homage. Tony, you got a podcast, 58 West King. What do you guys got going on?
You can find us pretty much anywhere: Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon. They've got their own podcast platform. Pandora, we're on Pandora. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Um, Odyssey, all of them. We're on all. We're on like 15. There's so
What the
many,
hell's
but
Odyssey?
it's its own little
Is it
like
like
our iHeartRadio. They have their own app. There's a bunch of them, dude.
only in Jerusalem?
I don't
Are
know.
you guys big in Israel?
Not as big in Israel as we are in Poland. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that much.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, we do weekly episodes. We do NFL previews. We make picks for all the games. We're just money line picks. We're batting about 650 on the season.
Nice.
We're just above that line. So it's all free. We make the picks. It's about 30-minute episode each week. We got content on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and then we post all
Nice.
that stuff on Twitter. So yeah, check us out. Matt Graham, he's in our league here in Taco Corp. He's the co-commish. He is the talent. He's very entertaining, but he does that alongside me.
I'm looking forward to the off season because I think we'll have more latitude on like when we got to record, right? Like it could
Mhm.
be a Saturday morning or a Sunday and prep it and all that kind of stuff to be able to
Yeah.
get Matt on a little bit more. I know he's a busy dude, works a lot, supports his family, does the good
Yeah.
stuff, real man's man. But we miss his voice on here. And like you
Yeah.
said, he's the talent. So
He's a
anytime I
lot of
can,
fun. He's so good at like improvisation too. So
yeah,
he's awesome to
yeah.
co-host with.
Matt's done stand up comedy before.
I do know
Yeah,
this. Yep.
he's really good at it. So, interesting stuff. But and then go check out Terrence's. podcast. You've heard him here last week, the Whiskey Flick podcast. He's got shows that are out there that are pretty evergreen if you're into Christmas stuff,
Yep.
especially the fact that Die Hard's not a Christmas movie. Go back to episode 1 and you'll hear me make my point and take my stance and be um, my word, I don't even know if it's a word, lambasted for it uh, by Tony and Terrence on why they think it is a Christmas movie. But um, look, it's good to be critical. It's not good to be cynical. So that is my tip for the week. You got anything else before we get out of here for this week, Tony? Anything you want to tell the people?
So I think about that every time you talk about evergreen with the whiskey
Hmm.
flick. Like I hate that about our shows. Like your
Yeah.
show's pretty good about it. You have content that kind of, I don't know, survives the test of time. But like our show, every week you can just hit the eject button. You don't have to listen to it. Terrence's stuff, whiskey flick, like you could go listen to our Die Hard one now, and it's still relevant. You
Yeah.
could go listen to the Batman one he just did, or Spider Verse one with Josh Callis. Mentioned him earlier. Like they're still relevant. So I do like that about Terrence's stuff, and I'm kind of jealous. I'm a little jealous, Terrence.
Yep. All right. So go check that out. Um, Banger of the week. So give some props to a very good musician, a very good singer, right? It is the Christmas time. It is time to be in the Christmas spirit. I think they're the number one sports podcast in the world. They say it every episode. I don't know if you've listened to their episodes or their show, New Heights.
No.
It's really good. It's a really good podcast, but they started off with new news, still the number one sports podcast in the planet Earth. And I think they like 2 weeks ago they were ranked like number 3 overall podcasts in the world, and it was behind
Interesting.
like only Joe Rogan and like some NPR or something like that. Right, two massive
Hmm.
podcasts. They're way up there. It's really good. It's fun, but it's Jason Kelsey and
Oh,
Travis Kelsey. But this Christmas song right here, Jason Kelsey put out a Christmas album this year. Tony, him, a couple other athletes on the team, 3 athletes.
yeah.
Philadelphia Eagles players sang some Christmas songs. Banger of the week, Christmas, Baby Come Home by Jason Kelsey. Critical, not cynical. Merry Christmas. For Tony, I'm Nate. Love you. Bye.
Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Festivus. Kwanzaa. Happy Kwanzaa. Is it Happy Kwanzaa?
Yeah, I don't know. Fucking shout out to whatever your holiday is during December.
Yeah, make it happy.